Earlier this year, Colorado passed some of the strictest gun control measures in the country. Now 55 of the state's 62 county sheriffs have joined a lawsuit that attempts to block these measures. Here to discuss this with us today, Sheriff of El Paso County, Colorado, Terry Maketa.
Terry, the two things that you're protesting and you want to block are the magazines, right?
Yeah, the high-capacity magazine ban.
Right, and also the background check. Why?
Well, number one, they're far overreaching than what the titles lead you to believe, and the public was really duped on it. The other thing is they lack clarity. They are very vague in their application, and law enforcement can't enforce them. And it also leaves to where you could have such an inconsistency enforcement where one county, let's say in southern Colorado, will view it one way and be within the guidelines of the law, and another county could enforce it to the letter of the law, and it's going to be an unfair and dramatic difference in not only the enforcement but the prosecution of it. And so we feel that really they do violate constitutional rights both on the Second Amendment and the 14th Amendment.
Terry, what happened to Colorado? I mean, it just, that was a fairly conservative state not that long ago, and now you've got some of the toughest gun control laws in the country. How did this happen?
You know, they were ramrodded through. The language in the bills that we saw, along with the magazine ban and the high capacity, there was an attempt to label almost all firearms as assault weapons and attach a liability. I mean, it's been a crazy year, and you're right. Colorado's always been very traditional and conservative.
Talk about the things where they had different hearings at the same time on different floors, which you've never seen before.
Yeah, I've been attending the legislature now, even prior to becoming sheriff for 12, 13 years, and when they know there's a controversial bill, they set the day for that bill to give plenty of public input. On this particular day, they set it up to hear all 4 gun bills, as they titled them, all within the same day, 2 at a time on 2 different floors of the Capitol, and then started adding rules in that we would only allow 1 hour per bill for proponents and 1 hour for opposition. And that process, by 2 hours of testimony and having it on different floors, essentially eliminated all public input, and the voice of the people was suppressed intentionally.
It's very similar to the way the gun debate kind of went across the country. Things rammed through, not a lot of considerations, poorly written laws. But one of the things that we heard about as this went on was that the left told us, the media told us, that law enforcement was behind these gun control measures because they feel gun control makes the areas safer. But 55 of the 62 sheriffs are supporting what you're doing here. How is that possible?
Well, that's because we recognize that there's no facts to support that. We're out on the streets, we're interacting with the constituency. They also said that the public, 90% of the public supports these efforts. Well, the public doesn't understand what they're really doing because they use titles that are misleading. And when something's unenforceable, it's unenforceable. And to claim law enforcement supports it was an overreaching step, and by blocking law enforcement from speaking against it, bringing the facts to the table,
explain that
is misleading.
Explain that they blocked, because they were all behind the president.
Well, not all law enforcement. Matter of fact, I was at a press conference
they made it look that way.
With a lot of law enforcement speaking out against it. They did. President Obama had it set up for the Denver Police Department to stand behind him as he praised the legislators for pushing these through.
But those who wanted to stand behind with the sheriffs couldn't do it.
No, it was a double standard. And those Denver police officers that opposed it filed a complaint with the civil service.
Now, there's strength and safety in numbers, but are you guys getting any flack for, your opposition to these measures?
You know, that's what's pretty phenomenal is as misrepresented as the public support was supposedly presented from these elected officials pushing them through, it's the exact opposite. I would say the communications I received are 95% in favor.
There was something I saw yesterday at these IRS demonstrations. Something new. In fact, do we have any of the pictures of them? This is incredible to me. These pictures that came in yesterday, Department of Homeland Security now has there's one of them, right? Now has these trucks. Look at this. There's their SUV. Notice it says police. Since when do we have the Department of Homeland Security police force? This is going around the government and the 10th Amendment. That's not a police force. That's a national police force. What makes you think, the way this government is going, that the sheriffs are going to stand a chance?
Well, that's a great question, and I'll tell you why. I think Colorado is the epicenter of this battle, and 55 Colorado sheriffs have drawn a line in the sand and said, we're not going to tolerate it. And those
Does that mean you won't
Homeland
enforce the
Security-
laws?
Well, they're unenforceable. I mean, you can't enforce what is unenforceable, and we certainly are not going to compromise citizens' rights under the 4th or 5th Amendment to claim that we are. Now, getting back to your point, they have no authority in my state, and the sheriffs will stand by their citizens as we are doing now, and that is why we are doing it.
Thank you. Keep it up. Back in a minute.